Go, go, go. Yeah.
Huge wildfires and mass evacuations, devastating floods, droughts and hurricanes. All this will intensify, according to the largest international review of climate science. And a mass extinction of plants and animals is already underway. Under all emission scenarios, we'll see the Arctic free of ice before 2050, and the world will fail to meet the Paris climate targets. Humans have released 2,400 billion tons of carbon dioxide. While China has the highest emissions, the US has the most per capita and the highest cumulative emissions. We need huge, rapid changes to save our cities and avoid large swathes of the world becoming uninhabitable. In our greatest battle, scientists are making extraordinary plans to reshape the world, with exciting upsides for us all. This magnet is so powerful it could lift an aircraft carrier over your head. It's at the center of the world's most expensive science experiment, aiming to create a star on Earth, a fusion reactor that works like the center of the sun. Fusion could offer almost unlimited clean energy. Unlike today's nuclear fission plants, which use the same process as atom bombs, fusion plants don't create nuclear waste and can't melt down. The magnet will drive electric current through plasma at extreme temperatures. A big challenge was keeping the reaction going without it destroying the machine, a problem largely cracked this year. But it could well take decades to master fusion, and energy demand is rising rapidly. Despite the expansion of renewable energy, around half of the new energy required in 2021 is coming from fossil fuels. 99% of the world's population breathes air that exceeds pollution limits set by the World Health Organization. It estimates that air pollution kills 4 million people per year, and recent studies have put the figure much higher. It's linked to stillbirths, psychotic episodes in teenagers, and dementia. One study looked at exposure across 500 people's lives from age 11 to 79. Using the same cognitive tests at different ages, it found that greater air pollution as a child was linked to mental decline up to 60 years later. And noise pollution also has a major impact. People who live near airports have higher rates of heart disease and stroke, and children regularly exposed to aircraft noise suffer delayed reading ability. Will electric cars save us? Research found that focusing on just electric cars is slowing the race to zero emissions. Globally, 1 in 50 new cars were fully electric in 2020, 1 in 14 in the UK. Norway leads the world, while the US lags at just 2% of new cars, including plug-ins. Even if all new cars were electric, it would take 15 years to replace fossil fuel cars. A much quicker way to cut emissions would be to swap cars for bikes and electric bikes. And this chart's rather motivating. Regular exercise can cut the risk of a fatal heart attack in half. It also cuts the risk of stroke, diabetes, obesity, depression, dementia, and cancer. And one type of exercise was found to be the most effective at boosting deep sleep, which restores energy and strengthens the immune system. A review of 15 studies found that exercising in the early evening improved sleep, and cycling had the strongest effect. What's more surprising is the efficiency and affordability of electric flying taxis. How does combining bikes and electric flights sound? A study found that over 100 kilometers, flying electric taxis are less polluting than fossil fuel cars. With 3 passengers and a pilot, they're greener than electric cars. And without the need for pilots, autonomous drones will be even more efficient. They could also remove the need for new roads, cancelling vast emissions and environmental damage. Building just 2 meters of road creates emissions equivalent to producing a car. Flying taxis will also cut travel times dramatically and boost economies. These new delivery vans show the extraordinary economic benefits when countries lead on climate action. Just 2 years after £7 million of government-funded research, Arrival has been valued at £9 billion. UPS has placed an order for 10,000 vehicles. But what about ships? 90% of everything we consume is moved by sea, creating nearly 1 billion tons of CO2 per year. These smart aerofoils automatically adjust to maximize wind power. The system also uses satellites to help the ship turn at the best angle to the wind, and the foils retract for bridges. And what about previous emissions, which are already causing so much damage? Limiting warming to 2 degrees will require the capture and storage of billions of tons of greenhouse gases. Scientists are testing innovative ways to capture carbon, including crushing silicate rocks and spreading them on fields. Norway, which grew rich from petroleum, plans to switch to pumping Europe's emissions back underground. A new pipeline runs 100 kilometers along the sea floor and down 2 kilometers, injecting gases into sediment. Cement and steel production will generate huge volumes of CO2 for some time, and it needs to be stored somewhere. This ship holds 1,500 tons of CO2, and 100 ships could carry all the daily carbon dioxide from German industry to Norway. But there's resistance. Protests in Germany have prevented storing it there for fear of leaks. This is the world's largest carbon capture plant, and it only removes the emissions from 800 cars. Industrial heat emits more CO2 emissions than all the world's cars and planes combined. Recycling instead of importing metals could add £100 billion to the UK economy by 2030. A circular economy is essential to meeting climate targets, but it's not easy. The average garment in America is worn just 7 times before it's thrown away. And low prices have led Americans to buy an average of 68 pieces of clothing per year. Clothes account for more CO2 emissions than France, Germany, and the UK combined, and the industry is projected to triple. The $1 bikini is an environmental nightmare. Swimwear is often made of oil-based materials which don't break down. When washed, they release tiny particles into the water, which end up in our food. There's growing interest in more sustainable alternatives, but the wider problem of waste is vast. Every year, 380 million tons of plastic is produced, around the same weight as 2.7 million blue whales, and only 16% is recycled. Litter dropped in the street, light plastics in landfill sites, and illegal dumps are carried by wind and rain into rivers. Some plastics can't be recycled, and those that can are weakened each time, quickly becoming unusable, joining the rest at the dump. One solution is to revert all plastics back into oil, from which they can be remade, creating an infinite recycling system. Plastics are heated to extreme temperatures, turning them to gas, which is cooled to create an oil-like liquid and distilled into fractions for different uses. Trials are running around the world, and the first major plant that can recycle every kind of plastic is under construction in the UK. It can even handle plastic contaminated with food and waste. 99% of the plastic fed in can be reused. The plant aims to process 80,000 tons of previously unrecyclable plastic per year, and there are plans to emulate it internationally to recycle 1 million tons annually by 2025. But will it work? One report found that chemical recycling was polluting, energy-hungry, and unreliable. And once returned to oil, the plastics then have to be remade. Could biodegradable alternatives remove the need for recycling? Oceanium plans to create plastic-like material from seaweed. It also absorbs CO2 and reduces ocean acidification, and it doesn't require fertilizer, pesticides, or land. Food production takes up 40% of the world's land, accounting for 80% of habitat loss. The Mississippi River carries thousands of tons of nitrate per day into the Gulf of Mexico. Agricultural fertilizers and animal waste steal oxygen from the water, fueling toxic algal blooms and a dead zone of 5,000 square miles. And dead zones like this are increasing around the world, killing fish, dolphins, turtles, even whale sharks. In the US and Europe, they cut billions from tourism, fishing, and property values, and cause health problems. And fertilizer has an even greater impact. The production of fertilizer involves burning fossil fuels, and once applied, it releases nitrous oxide, a greenhouse gas 300 times more powerful than carbon dioxide. Pesticides also release the gas, and there are around 385 million cases of acute pesticide poisoning each year. 11,000 are fatal. 44% of farmers suffer acute poisoning. Seaweed has no such problems. A US government task force has struggled to tackle the Gulf of Mexico dead zone, but a study found that growing seaweed could turn it around. Seaweed helps restore ecosystems. It provides a canopy for diverse marine life and increases fish abundance. Seaweed farming could re-establish kelp forests, which many projects have aimed to achieve for the environmental benefits. South Korea has 2,000 seaweed farms absorbing carbon dioxide and nitrogen and converting it into food. It's also used in toothpaste, shampoo, and fertilizer. Globally, the demand for seaweed is projected to double to $30 billion by 2025. It's so effective at collecting carbon, one company received $11 million to grow it and sink it to the bottom of the ocean for carbon credit. Seaweed is also a nutrient-rich food source, reliable even during droughts. It could be a safety net for the world. But widestream global adoption may require demand for bioplastics, changing vast systems built up over years. This beautiful sculpture is made of ice from 1765, the year the Industrial Revolution began. Every year, when snow falls in the Arctic, it doesn't melt, but piles up layer by layer, trapping air. Scientists have drilled down into the past, also finding dust from volcanoes which we know exploded in certain years. The 1765 ice was 110 meters down, and researchers have drilled down thousands of meters over 800,000 years. There's no going back, but acting on climate change will accelerate us forward to cleaner air and seas and exciting technologies.
Hazy knows.
What do you think? Would you like to see leaders take bold action on climate change? Let us know in the comments.
There is only one animal who can tell you if she is happy and wants to mate. That is Coco, the silverback gorilla. When she saw me, the blue-eyed simian, she was intrigued. She said to her trainer, and I went, "What does that mean?" "She wants you to tickle her." "Okay," I tickle her. She's, "Oh." "Okay." Then she goes, "What does that mean?" "She wants you to lift your shirt." I lift my shirt. She reaches out and grabs both my And when an 800-pound gorilla's got you by the you listen.